Welcome back in Week 9 WATD Fantasy Draft. It's been a little bit. It's been a busy fall, and we do apologize for our delinquency with some of these drafts. But we are back at WATD Fantasy Draft. Hopefully, kickstarting our stretch run here. Final week of the regular season. Excited to get some names on the board and put a little extra skin in the game for the extra week this season. So let's get right into it. Our order this week is going to be Johnny, myself, and Brendan, and let's just head right into it. So Johnny, I'm going to let you take to the board here. Big week. We've got like a bunch of South Shore teams that are right on the bubble, a bunch of big games that we're going to be keeping our eyes on. So plenty of good matchups to pick from. So why don't you lead us off?
Yeah, it should be a fun week. Excited to dive into the extra week here. I'm gonna go running back right off the rip. I'm gonna go with Jackson Richard from BC High, a team who's had an incredible resurgence this year. I think, the Catholic Conference is very much in play for them. I think they've got a legitimate shot to win a Super Bowl as well. So they got a big one, this weekend on the road up north at St. John's Prep, which is no small task. But we saw Catholic Memorial really take it to St. John's Prep this past Saturday. So anything can happen, and they've been an impressive team so far.
Yeah, we were talking about just that on Sunday on the Sports Exchange. Like, this is all of a sudden a team that, crazy as it seems, maybe we were doubting them a little bit, even them still being number one, but they have a legit shot to a state title right now. And I think it starts with a really big game against St. John's Prep. I think if they take care of business this week, it's going to be a particularly, kind of eye-opening win, and firmly cement them, I would think, is the favorites to go and win the D1 tournament. All right, that's going to put me to the board here, and this is one that I'm kind of running to go make the pick because I know we've missed a couple of weeks, but it's a pretty incredible, I feel like, oversight on our parts that this guy has not come off the board yet. So I'm going to go quarterback with the first pick, and I'm going to go with Tor Moss for the first time on the season. He is now the record holder at Marshfield for single game touchdowns with 5. We had him a couple of weeks ago with his game against Hingham, 5 first half touchdowns. I feel like he's hitting his stride here. That offense is kicked back into gear. They're starting to look like a team that we thought they would be at the beginning of the season, and he's a huge piece of why that is. So give me Tor Moss for the first time this year. All right, Brennan.
I'm going to go to a matchup that I think involves a team that is desperately needing a win to stay in playoff contention. I'm going to go to the Plymouth South Pembroke matchup and go with running back here. Plymouth South tends to split their running back carries, but I'm going to go with Max Arnold. I feel like he's become the lead back for them over the past few weeks, in addition to Horvath. So I think he could find the end zone once or twice in this game, going up against the Pembroke team that is still trying to find its identity.
Yeah, we're going to have that. That's our South Shore game of the week. It's an extremely important game for Plymouth South. They're going to be getting Pembroke, which, in a lot of ways, obviously is, good for them because Pembroke's been struggling, having a real tough go of it right now. But, Plymouth South still got to go out and take care of business. Kind of a heartbreaker of a loss for them against Quincy, losing that game late this past week. Now they got to regroup quickly here. They're kind of right on the edge of that field, and so I think you got to make sure you take care of business against Pembroke, and he's going to have to be big for them if they want to get it done. All right, Johnny, round 2.
I'm going to go quarterback. I am guy I saw week 1 was impressed. We had him early. I'm going to go Michael Wildfire from Cohasset. They've got a big one against. I think they're on the road against Randolph, so I think it's a winnable game for Cohasset. But obviously everything's going to run through him, and he passed the eye test for me early on, so I'm going to go back to him.
Yeah, I had kind of said 2 weeks ago on the show that I had them in my top tier. I really felt like they're going to contend in D7. A tough result for them last week against Mashpee. I think this is an important bounce back game for them against Randolph to kind of prove that they can be in the mix. And you don't want to fall too far down those D7 rankings. It's going to make the road way tougher for the team that I really do believe can still contend for a state championship. I mean, it's 3 straight years in the Final Four. I think they're going to be right back there this year. But slip up against Randolph, and you're only going to make that road more difficult for yourself. So I think a little bit of pressure on Cohasset to come out and have a good week this week against Randolph. So I like to pick Johnny Lott on the line for the sophomore quarterback. All right, that'll put me at the podium. I am going to, let's see here. I'm going to dip my toe, if I may, into the Abington matchup. They're going on the road. They're going against Middleborough. They run with a stable of backs. I'm going to go with a guy that we haven't seen yet this year, and I'm going to go with Ryan Simonetti. I feel like it's always tough to kind of pick who's going to be the guy in any given week for Abington. They just mix it up so well. But I think that I'm going to roll the dice with a guy who hasn't come off the board yet, and I think Simonetti's a fantastic athlete. I think they're going to try to get everybody kind of a little bit of action here against Middleborough and get everybody rolling going into a tournament, going into a D6 field that I think they're they've got their designs on competing in. So give me Simonetti. Brendan.
I'm going to go quarterback here, and I'm surprised this guy hasn't come off the board yet this year, given the matchups that they've gone up against. But I'm going to go with Tyler Vincent out of Hanover. I think this is a good week for them going up against North Quincy, where I could see back and forth, possibly shootout here with Mikey Galligan and the Raiders. So give me Vincent this week. I think he puts up a score or two.
Yeah, I had a couple guys on my board at quarterback. It was Tor and Tyler, and I said, man, how have these guys not come off the board yet? Yeah, I mean, I think Tyler's great. They just had a big week against Pembroke, much needed bounce back week. So I think against North Quincy, I mean, we saw that offense for North Quincy look really good for at least a half against Scituate. I think that this one has a chance to get to turn into a little bit of a shootout, and I think Vincent's going to be asked to do a lot in that game. So good pick, Brennan. All right, round 3, Johnny.
I'm looking at receivers. A lot of good ones out there. I'm gonna go to the Milton Natick matchup. I'm gonna go with Ronan Salmon. Obviously a guy we've become familiar with over the years, and I think he's gonna have a big game as they close out the season.
They're tough game against Natick. They kind of need something. I don't want to go as far as to say like this is a must-win game for them, but they're low in the rankings right now in Division 3. You'd like, if you can get a win against Natick, that's going to do a lot for you. I think the difference between sitting at, I think they're at like 14, maybe they're a little bit higher than that, but between like getting into the early teens and finding a way to slide up to 9 or 10, I think it's just a much different, much easier road. Not that it's an easy road; it's going to be extremely difficult for them to try to repeat as D3 champs. But one way or another, I think anything they can do to move up the board is going to be really important. So I think Ronan's the most talented receiver in that room. You need him to come up big for you. So good pick, Johnny. I'm gonna dip into the wide receiver room. Tough matchup here, but I think an important one for Hingham, and I'm gonna go with JT Reel. He's a sophomore. I think he's going to be a kid to watch for the next couple of years on the South Shore. He is supremely talented and has he's got a legit kind of next level body already as I imagine a 15-year-old. Really, really impressed with what we saw from him in a short, sample size. We got them against Marshfield. Obviously wasn't their best game offensively, but he's one of those guys that kind of just jumps off the page to you and jumps off the field as far as, just a guy that has clear and obvious talent and is going to be a problem for defenses everywhere. So give me JT Reel. Brendan.
I'm going to go wide receiver here, going to the Bay State Conference. I'm going with TJ Sadat out of Weymouth. I think this is going to be a matchup where they try to bounce back after that loss to Needham, going up against a team that could put up some points in Wellesley. It should a middle of the road Bay State Conference game, so I could see this being back and forth early on, and they're going to get involved in the passing game. Give me Sadat this week.
I mean, can't say enough about it. Tough loss, obviously, to Needham, but can't say enough about the season for Weymouth. I mean, it's been really exciting to watch and see what they've been able to do. And yeah, I'm looking for them to have a get right game going into the playoffs and take care of business against Wellesley. And yeah, hopefully they'll be looking to air the ball out and so that can get some touches. All right, round 4, Johnny. You've got I think one at each position, so you need a running back, wide receiver, and a defense.
Yeah, I'm gonna go another wide receiver. I'm gonna go to the Quincy matchup against Scituate. It's gonna be a tough game for Quincy. I think it might be a must-win for Quincy, so I'm gonna go Jaden Francois. I think he's their most talented receiver. You know, to beat Scituate, I think he's gonna have to have a huge game. So I'm riding with him.
He certainly is, supremely talented. I think he was on the receiving end of the winning touchdown against Plymouth South. I think they're gonna need him. They're gonna need him. They need the win. We talked about it on the show. They're sitting, right on the edge at 17, and it's gonna take some doing to kind of get themselves into the field. So yeah, no doubt about it. I think it's a must win for Quincy in a lot of ways, and Jaden Francois has kind of been a big time player for them, and I think he's going to have to come up big in week 9. I am going to go back to the wide receiver room as well. I'm kind of a similar boat. I need wide receiver, running back, defense. I'm going to double dip. I'm going to double dip with the Rams, and I'm going to take a receiver for Tormas's offense. I'm going to go with Luke Richardson, guy who hasn't come off the board yet. I just want to give him a shout because he has had to step up with Charlie Carroll being hurt much of the year, and I think that's one of the fun things. That's the part of what's going to make them so dangerous come tournament time is that you have a bunch of guys that were expected to be 4th, 5th option in the offense that have had much more pronounced roles. It's only going to make them deeper come tournament time. They can go 4 deep at receiver. They can go 2, 3 deep at tight end. They're going to have a lot of options for Tormas, and Richardson feels to me, consistently good for one big play a game. So hoping that it's going to be a little more than that, but banking on at least the one. So Brendan, close out round 4.
I need another running back here. And this is another team that's right on the bubble. I think they're playoff eligible at this stage, Bridgewater Raynham, but they still need to win to kind of solidify their playoff spot. I'm going to go with Caleb Tripp this week. They have a big matchup with Shrewsbury. I would say a team of similar caliber, also in the same boat. So we'll see if Bridgewater Raynham can get it done in this rebound year, I should say.
I like it. Caleb Tripp, running back out of BR. Love what Ian Bain is doing over there. I mean, I think how quickly he's been able to turn it around speaks to his talent. And again, I mean, you think about it again, that they would be, I'm not mistaken, this would be Dawson DuBose's senior year if they hadn't lost him to ISL schools. They have talent that goes through there, and I think that for those kids that are maybe thinking about moving outside of district, seeing Ian Bain come in and have this success right away is got to make you think twice, and that's all you can really ask for as a big time public school. So excited to see what Caleb can do. Excited to get him on the board, and big week for BR. All right, Johnny, take us into round 5 in need of a running back and a defense.
I'm going to go running back here. Brendan's already touched on this matchup a little bit, but I'm going to go back to the Weymouth-Wellesley matchup. I do think it's a get-right game for Weymouth as they head into what should be an exciting postseason for them. I'm going to go running back. I'm going to go Cam Ayeta. I was impressed with what I saw from him early in the season. I think Weymouth is going to put up a lot of points in this game, so I think both running and throwing the ball is going to be big for them.
Yeah, he's an absolute beast. It's just no way around it. He's a big kid. He's a powerful runner, and he's been doing it for them for a while. I feel like he kind of started coming on as a sophomore, and we've just got more familiar with his game, and it's improved so much over the last couple of years. And they're in a spot to get something done this year because in large part of what Cam does for that offense. So good pick, Johnny. I'm gonna take a running back as well. I'm gonna go with a guy that has kind of jumped onto the radar in recent weeks. I'm gonna go with a guy Joseph out of Randolph. Randolph has been one of the more pleasant surprises of the season. They've got a tough matchup against Cohasset coming up this week, but I think that they have just shown that they have a ground game that does not seem to want to be denied by anybody. So I like a guy Joseph. He's the third piece of the trifecta. I think we went into the season thinking it was going to kind of be just two-man game with Nate Gomes Correa and Mekhi White, and then mixing in now Joseph has just added to it. It's made them all the more dangerous. So that is give me Joseph, and Brendan, you can close out round 5.
I'm going to go to the Archie's Cathedral matchup for my second wide receiver. I'm going to go with Colin Waldron out of Archie's. I think Cathedral's having a pretty good season, if I'm not mistaken. So it could be a back and forth game, and in order to win, they're going to have to pass the ball. I think he could be the beneficiary.
There you go. You went to our last draft. You went, I think, doubled up, or maybe you each got somebody from Archie's and bet on them having a big game, and you both hit well. Nick Schwartz had a fantastic game. I think he was your pick, Brennan, at quarterback, and he was really good in that one. So hoping that we can bring Archie's a little bit of luck with this one as well. And I like it, Colin Waldron. All right, Johnny, final rounds. We all need a defense here, so the run on the D begins.
I'm gonna go to league matchup. I'm gonna take Duxbury. I'm gonna take the Dragons defense. They're playing Hingham. Obviously a big game for both sides, but I think that's a game that Duxbury gets jazzed for, and I think their defense is going to step up.
Yeah, I think we kind of talked about it on the show again. I think that the results last week for them, kind of surprised to see them in a close game with Whitman Hanson, but once again, the Duxbury defense just doesn't let up. They're that good all the time. So, I think that you can't go wrong picking with the Duxbury defense against just about anybody. So, good pick. All right, that puts me on the board. I need my defense. Kind of scan it all over. There are some interesting matchups. I don't know if I want to go with somebody necessarily that has the pressure to go and get something done final week of the season. But I think that's, maybe kind of how I'm leaning. I'm going to go with Norwell. Not necessarily an upset per se, but a frustrating loss last week to Sandwich that opened the league title picture right back up in the South Shore Large division. I think Sullivan is large now. So Norwell's got EB this week. EB is kind of reeling here, back-to-back losses for them coming down the stretch. But I think for Norwell, just the motivation to put that loss out of mind, bounce back. I think the emphasis is going to be on the defensive side of the ball to make sure they take care of business. And I think they got the upper hand in the EB matchup. So give me the Norwell D. And Brendan, you can close this up.
I was narrowing it down to 2 Patriot League teams here. I'm going to go with Marshfield this week, going up against Whitman Hanson to close out the regular season. I think they're going to try and come out and win pretty big in this one. It's a good matchup for them, and in order to keep that number 2 seed in their Division 2 field, they have to win big. So give me the Marshfield this week.
And cannot really overstate how important that is for them. I guess in some ways it matters relatively little if they're the 2 or the 3. If you make it that far, you're at a neutral site game. The slight advantage of, calling the toss, I guess, is kind of minimal. But you want to make sure that you are staying away from CM, however that's possible. And in all likelihood, CM's going to be the one. So your point of emphasis is do not drop down to the 4. Make sure that you're either the 2 or the 3. And so all you can really do to make sure that is go out and have a big game against Whitman Hanson. So I think you're right on, Brennan. I think they look to take care of business in that one. All right, let me run them down and we'll get you out of here. Johnny from the first position. Your quarterback is Michael Wildfire out of Cohasset. Your running backs, Jackson Richard out of BC High and Cam Aida out of Weymouth. Your wide receivers, Ronan Salmon out of Milton and Jaden Francois out of Quincy and the Duxbury defense. I was drafted out of the second position. Tor Moss, my quarterback. My running backs, Moss out of Marshfield. My running backs, Ryan Simonetti out of Abington and Haggai Joseph out of Randolph. My wide receivers, JT Real out of Hingham and Luke Richardson out of Marshfield and the Norwell defense. And then Brendan, your quarterback, Tyler Vincent. Your running backs, Max Arnold out of Plymouth South and Caleb Tripp out of Bridgewater Raynham. Your wide receivers, TJ Sadat out of Weymouth, Colin Waldron out of Archbishop Williams, and the Marshfield defense. That is the final WATD fantasy draft of the regular season. We will keep this going through the playoffs. The board will reset. If your team does not reach the playoffs, you are not eligible to be drafted. I'm sorry, but we are not diving into scores from consolation ladder games. But we will pare down the field as it goes through and kind of reset, and everybody becomes available again. Though that is only, obviously kind of a light rule for us. But in any case, stay tuned. South Shore game of the week, as we said, Friday night, Plymouth South and Pembroke. That'll be 7 o'clock on 95.9 WATD. Follow us on Twitter at SE on WATD or just search WATD Sports or find us on YouTube searching WATD Sports. If you're here, like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the WATD Fantasy Draft.